Hi, it's Simon. If you feel overwhelmed by tasks, ideas, and projects you are juggling each day, I believe that the best solution to finally break free from that stress is to organise your life by setting up your very own second brain system. Now, this video is how to get started with doing just that. And most importantly, whilst it is a great standalone video, it's also the first part of my step-by-step onboarding guide for how to use my complete Notion LifeOS templates. It's those just do this then that guides that many of you have been asking for. If you are new to the channel, you guessed it, I use Notion to create my second brain, and I turned it into a complete Notion template called Notion LifeOS. So if you want to know more about that, you might also like to check out the full tool video of that Notion setup first. I've linked it in the description. First, we have to understand the central function of a second brain. It is to give you a system that you trust, that will hold everything for you and feed tasks, notes, and ideas back to you only when you need them. This then means you can have a clearer and calmer mind and actually get things done when you need to. Sounds amazing, right? Well, it is, but it only works if you understand the system and, most importantly, the simple but essential principles behind it. I made these videos in response to seeing a huge amount of new and newer Notion users coming to my Notion templates, and then seeing you guys asking for some more beginner-friendly step-by-step guidance to do all this. So in this first video, we'll look at top-level organization, setting up areas and resources in your life using the Power system dashboard and method, and setting up your yearly goals and milestones, and then projects ready to add tasks to. In the following two videos, I'll demonstrate the step-by-step process of adding and managing tasks and projects in Notion LifeOS, and some of those cool additional features that I've added into it to make task management even better. So make sure to bookmark the playlist in the description, and let's get started. So this is my LifeOS demo space. This is an exact copy of the advanced, biggest LifeOS template that I make available, which is a LifeOS and a Creative OS combined. Now, what I want to focus on first of all is just understanding the layout of it and how I'm using it around GTD and Power as a method. I'll show you how you can clear sample data, and I'm also going to show you how you might want to edit the views so that it looks the way you want. So I've tried to make it look incredibly minimal so that it can be clean and not too overwhelming, but you want to be able to access it in the way that you wish. So the first thing is to probably say that in terms of navigation, you can use this sidebar. If I open up the LifeOS demo space, so you'll see here there are all these kind of views that don't necessarily line up in the right order. I personally have designed this so that you don't have to use this. If you want to use the sidebar, I would simply favorite the pages like this that you want in order, and you can move them around, and then when you're up in your favorites, you'll see them come up here. So that would be the easiest thing to do. So for example, I might want that. I might want to jump to my today view, favorite that, and then I can drag that around. So if you'd rather use the sidebar, put them into your favorites. I'm not going to do that because the idea really here is that you use this menu. So if I close that up, this button will always take you to home. And if you open this up, you'll be able to go to all of the main dashboard views. So if I want to look at my projects, I can jump to the projects and view them like this. So I'm going to jump back home. The second thing about navigating this is if you don't like these toggles, it's really simple to change it. Let me show you what I mean. So this is the today view in today. If you didn't like that, you can just do /turn and change it into a heading. You won't delete anything, but it will take everything out of the toggle and just drop it in nice and cleanly. Also, for example, I've got highlighted projects here. You might prefer to have those right at the top under today because that is where you're managing your projects. You can just move things around as you wish. So remember, templates are to be adapted. I'm going to undo that because I prefer it like this. The other thing to know about the home screen is that each of these toggles will drop down to show you something like the inbox where we're going to capture everything. But also for mobile or for quick viewing, you can click on them because they're links to mirrored single pages of the same content. So on a mobile view, you can just click straight through and use it on your mobile more easily. And I can jump back home using the home button. So if you don't want to open the toggles, just go, okay, I want to look at my highlighted projects. It will jump you to highlighted projects. And then you can either have this open to jump where you want or jump back home. And if at any point you want to add navigation to your system, let's say I actually in here want to always be able to jump to my project dashboard, you can do @ and then find the page, link to it, and you'll have a little link that will jump you to where you need to be. So you can also add your own navigations like that. Now, the next thing to remember here is that when you receive this, you might find that there is sample data. I've put that in because from my research from existing users, a lot of people, maybe 60%, really want to see the sample data so they understand how to use it. But also, you can find it a little bit overwhelming when all that data is already in there and actually you just want to start clean. So things like this daily tracker might be a little bit annoying for some people, or perhaps if we wanted to go to the goals and planner where you set your goals, you might find that there are kind of already goals in here that are kind of just a bit annoying for you. So what I would suggest, if you wish to start clean, is you can go down to the bottom of the homepage. You'll see this Life OS. This is the system toggle, which will show you where absolutely everything is. Under that, you'll have all of the original pages. So this is all the dashboards that we're linking to in the system. But most specifically, you'll have all of the system databases. So what you can do is you can jump, for example, into the daily tracker database. You can select everything in it and you can delete it, like so. And that's it. So you can just go through anything that you don't want in these pages. I can just select the example and using the delete button here, delete it. So that would be your first step if you want a clean view. Obvious places to do that would be in tasks. I mean, there's literally only one in this one. And things like goals. If you wanted to delete my example goals, that could be a really nice thing to do. Go into the goals and milestones database. Make sure you open the toggles so that you can select the milestones as well. And again, just delete. And then we have everything deleted. And finally, on the subject of editing your home screen, if you want to clean this up further, just have a little look through each of these and you'll see what is in each section. We will make sense of everything in a little bit as I take you through setting up the key areas of the system, which would be, first of all, to set up your projects, areas and resources. And then it would be to probably set some goals. And then finally, to set up how to use the task and project manager. That will get you flying with Life OS in no time. So whilst there's lots here, just remember that you only need to use the essential elements of it to really make the most of it. And then as you grow and learn about Notion and the system, it will grow with you. That's the concept. So let's jump into how to begin adding the key first steps to setting yourself up in this system. So this operates around two kind of guiding systems of thinking. And if you understand the systems of thinking, you'll understand how to use Notion Life OS. The first one is Getting Things Done, a book by David Allen, and essentially the idea of how you will process and organize tasks, projects, and kind of areas of your life. And the other is, I suppose, a kind of a development of that from Tiago Forte called the PARA method. PARA stands for projects, areas, resources, and archives. And it's your areas and resources that I actually want us to set up first, because areas are areas of your life that projects and various things, information, knowledge would sit within. So if we look in the main menu, we will see in Organize the PARA dashboard. We're going to jump to that and we're just going to open up all of these areas so you can see what's going on. So we have a view of the projects database, which is where you will group tasks and information on projects that you're running day to day. We have the resources, which I would say are essentially your knowledge base. So any kind of notes, information, contacts, stuff that you want to link together to parts of your work. Areas are parts of your life. You can see I've got things like business, personal development, travel, sample data that's in there. And finally, we have an archive. Now this archive is actually a mirrored view of every single part of the system, and each database has a way for you to simply archive something and get rid of it. For example, completed tasks go in the task bin, and this is a place where you could delete tasks if you wanted to do that have been completed. So you'll see if we look at the filter, it's filtered where completed is checked or archive is checked. And you can just check that if you want to. So archives you don't need to worry about, but if you ever finish things or want to get rid of things, that's where it would go. Now, again, as I mentioned before, you might find that you don't want to look at the view in this way. So remember, you can get the entire block, which is why it's in that block, and move it around. So maybe you want your areas up here. You don't have to follow the PARA method in terms of how things sit. So you can move projects down, for example, if you want it to look like that, and so on and so forth. So there's all of our areas. I left what I had in so I could demo it, but actually what I'm going to do is just re-demo what I mentioned about clearing stuff out. So I'm going to go right down to the home page, click into the area and resources database, and you can just literally select everything that is in there and delete them. You can go back into the dashboard for the Power dashboard, and you'll see there is absolutely nothing in there now, so it's a nice clean start. So let's create some. Now we click in here and we would add a new area. It's set as default, so if you add a new one, it will do it, but you'll see that it has resources and areas. So resources are purple currently and areas are grey, and that's because resources and areas are served by the same database. The reason for that is that it means I can sit a resource within an area, but also I can link something to both an area and a resource. It's the cleanest way to organize it. So your first job is to add some areas. We're going to click on new. It'll create the template and show you related projects, related contacts, related clippings and notes for that area. That will all happen automatically when you link things to it. So all you need to do to start with is set it up. So for example, we might go, my business might be the first area, or even better, business is an area, isn't it? We can create another one and you can just work through like this. So let's do finances. Let's do another area, might be a hobby. Areas could be things like people. So it might be family life. And for me, it could be things like content creation. Great, so there's some examples of areas. Now, if you want to set up resources, you might want to begin by just a couple of key areas of resource. Now, an obvious thing for that may be notes on productivity. So I could set up a productivity resource, name it however you want. And with this, make sure that the default for this specific area is set only for this resources view is set as that template. Great. Could be money. It could be business strategies. So now we have those areas and resources in place, you can start thinking about what your next steps would be in the process. Now, I believe you start at top level aims and then work down to the smaller details like individual tasks. So my next suggestion would be to go and set your goals for the year. Now we're going to keep this really simple to start with. This is the goals and planner dashboard. You'll see that there is a live goals view here and there is a year report. So currently there will be a current year. So if it's 2024 by the time you watch this video, this will say 2024 on the template. So all of this says nothing at all at the moment because there's no information linked to it. But this year, if we jump into it, essentially is a report on many, many things. It will give you your habit reports, but it will also give you things like your finance reports if you're using the financial tracker, a report of your habits, journaling, if you've published things, if you're using the content creating system. But again, for now, let's not worry about that just yet. What we want to be looking at, if we close that up, is this system here. We want to set up our goals. So this is a plan your year guide that you can follow through. I have a dedicated video on this in terms of the actual thinking behind reviewing everything. But if you're starting new with the system, you would look at the previous year and review the data. And you could also look at related journal reflections. But if you've never used the system, there's not going to be anything in there. So therefore, you can just do that yourself on paper or in whatever you're currently using and ignore it. But what you can do, having done that, is start to list out your wins and losses for the previous year. Again, if you want to delete information, you can do that here just by selecting everything and deleting it using the button. But you essentially go through here and you can just think about what you want to do with your life. And you can just think about what's happened. So we're looking at wins here. So it might be, for example, run a marathon. You can put that in here and link it to, there you go, events, and you can write the lessons learned, for example. Again, you don't have to do this here, so you could equally just ignore that. The main thing you're gonna need to do is set up your goals. In the early downloads of this template, there was just a start a new year plan button for future years. And what you'll see is when you click on it, it will tell you what it's gonna do. But what I've done recently is added a new button, which just makes this all a little bit smoother and links it to the current year that's here. So it will generate a goal setting planning form, add 3 new goals with related milestones and edit the goals database below and link them all to an existing year report. And what we're going to do is I'm going to roll down and you watch this goals and milestones database view. I'm going to click start a new year plan. Let's press continue. And there are our new goals. So now we can see that this goal setting worksheet for the year turns up. You can number it and open it up. And here you can do the work on just thinking things through. Again, you don't have to do it here if you don't want, but it's just giving you a guide to the kind of process I would suggest if you want to set meaningful, useful goals. There's a full video on that on the YouTube channel if you want to check it out. I'll link it in relationship to this video. So once you've worked through that, you would then start to put those into the system. And you can see here, you can set your goals. So we can open this up and we have the year 2023, goal number 1, you would just rename it. So this one would be for example, and this one in here, milestone 1 would be, could be something like this. This section could be, and this milestone could be, for example. So here you can just add new sub-items easily by saying another milestone. You can open them up and just select the milestone template to make sure it looks how you want it to look. And the same with this, it might be useful because that button doesn't allow you to do it, just to click through and select each of these as a milestone if you want it to look that way. So we can open these up, great. And just make sure you link them to the goal. There you go. So that's an example of how this might work. You can go through, click into them, edit them all. Unfortunately, there is no way to add a template using the buttons, but this felt like the quickest way to give you the map so that you can actually set it up like this. So let's just do this one here, build. There you go, that might be another goal, and maybe this one is learn 5 new skills. Now that we've completed setting our goals up, we can now, in the year database, either clicking from here or looking at our year reports on the year, you'll be able to see that we have all of our goals set up. Same thing with the goals. If you wanted to, you could click in and set them up with the template so that they look as you need them to, and it will show you the milestones as you need. Same here, open this up, new goal. And this could also be a place to add milestones within the actual goal if you wanted to. Great. We now have a list of our goals, which we can view however we wish. And we can see each one is listed out for the year, and we can see any items that are linked to it in terms of milestones we've got to do. And when you're finished, you would click that and it would be done. You can have more than one goal. You would just create further goal labels in the database and create them as you wish. The next stage in our list is to manage and link projects. Now, it is worth saying that every stage that we're going to look at is listed within this section, and you can actually do it on kind of mirrored views of the databases for projects, for setting up areas and resources, for setting up goals within this. So it's your choice whether you want to do it within this or whether you'd like to do it as I'm going to show you, which is by navigating to the dashboards. I'm going to show you it that way because it helps you understand the layout of the system. So let's jump to setting up our projects, but let's do that on the project dashboard, as I mentioned. So I'm going to jump to projects, and a project, according to David Allen in Getting Things Done, is any task that you have which has more than one action. Now, there are many ways you can use projects in this system. You could set it as something like this, an entire YouTube channel, or it might just be to do something like build a shed, or it could be literally to do the weekly shop. But personally, in this system, I would say it's useful to have larger projects that are things you're working on, because this is the system that will organize your tasks in the task manager. For example, in here, I might add a new one and put theatre show 1, because I direct theatre plays. And finally, I suggest to use the system, you just create a project for any kind of one-off tasks that you want to process into the system, so if they don't want to stay in your inbox. And I'll show you that in a bit. So why not create a quick one-off tasks project? That'll make sense in a moment. Now you'll see I have a highlighted task view. They're all down here, and if you want to say have a project that you're not currently working on, maybe this one is yearly planning process, and that can sit down there. It won't be in the highlighted section. So to highlight a project, you would just click into it and tick this button here. That's all you really need to worry about on that. A good thing to know about projects is that you will see a markers review button in the project. You can put a project overview. So this might be quick tasks to process into the system. And you can put objectives. And then you'll have, within the action section, tasks that are filtered only by that project. So this is the power of using this system. You can just look at tasks by project. You can look at notes, clippings, resource areas, all of this stuff, clients and collaborators that relate to that project. And all you would really do is just link them to it. That's how you're gonna do it. It's pretty simple. So I can link this now to an area. So it might be in here. I might want a new area, and you can do that here. For example, I wanna add a new one in areas and resources. I'm just gonna make sure that is set as a area. Yes, it is, it's a gray one, great. And then you know it's linked back to that when you want to run things. So each time you set up a project, you might want to link it to any areas or resources that you need to. That's going to go in DIY. I want to create a new area for that. Select that one. And then you'll see if we go through to DIY, the project is related to it. So in here, I can select my area. The YouTube channel, I want that to link to content creation, and there you go. Now, if you want to view your areas within the projects, on any view, just go to properties and find the related section you want to look at and just view it, and it'll drop it in where you need it. The other thing you may want to do is link your projects to goals that you've already created. Let's do an example with the YouTube channel. I would simply click down here on add related goals. You click on that and you'll find what you need to do. You can link it to a goal or a milestone, but I would personally say it's best to add it to a goal because the milestones are linked to the goal. Click on that. You'll now see it's related to that. And again, if you want to see your goals in your views, you would just go to properties, find related goals, click view, and you can see what goal your projects are related to. So fully customizable as you wish. So those would be for projects that you know about, but you might also just need to do a dump of all of the tasks that are on your mind. I'll link to a video, which is my kind of full setup guide to doing a brain dump using the GTD method. Essentially, you're gonna put down every single task that you can think of in your life on paper, I would suggest, group them into projects, name the projects, and then you create these projects and input the tasks. You could do that in this system as well. So let's now move on to the very simple way you can use LifeOS to manage all of your tasks in one place. Okay, we'll get into the good stuff in the next video, how simple it is to add and organize tasks into this system, the essential do this then that guide to getting you going with tasks, and if it's ready to go, you can click it up here. If you want to see my video on the best simple systems I know for getting all of the stuff out of your brain and into a system like this, just using paper, watch this one next. It would be awesome if you subscribed here. Amazing if you did that classic like smash. I think that's what they call it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.